Transgender Day of Remembrance was founded in 1999 by Gwendolyn Ann Smith, another transgender woman, to make sure that the murder of transgender woman Rita Hester in Allison, Massachusetts wasn't forgotten. It has slowly grown from the web-based project started by Gwendolyn Smith in 1999 to an international day of action. In 2010, Transgender Day of Remembrance was observed in over 185 cities throughout more than 20 countries. Transgender Day of Remembrance ceremonies have shown us that hate and fear are alive. 37 people have been killed this year that were reported. There's no telling how many names we don't actually know. Transgender Day of Remembrance started as a way to memorialize the people who had been killed in the United States. And while it's heartbreaking, it's necessary. To mourn these people whose lives were cut short because people wanted to see all of us as less than. They wanted to see me as less than. They wanted to see this community as less than. We aren't less than them. These people who lost their lives deserve it.
So today we light these candles in remembrance of those that we lost this year. The 352 we lost worldwide will be represented by the 2 candles we have. We'll light this candle for those we lost to suicide, and this one to those that are unknown. We will now light the 37 transgender individuals that we lost this year in America. Starting with Yahira Nesby, 33, was fatally shot in New York on December 19th. Nesby was a black transgender woman who was a loved member of the year fall scene. Her friends and family commented on social media about her death, calling Nesby a good spirit, genuinely good people, and said, every time Nesby was around, she put a smile on my face and others. Mia Penny, a 26-year-old transgender woman, was killed in Washington, D.C. on December 29th. She was originally believed to be involved in a gunfight between 2 private security guards. However, local activists say there is a good possibility that the trans woman found dead. The fallen dead was not the person who exchanged gunfire with the security guard, but she was killed by someone else in the building. Dustin Parker, 25, was fatally shot in McAlester, Oklahoma early on New Year's Day. His employees released a statement shortly after his death remembering Parker as their steadfast friend and amazing husband and father, and generous to a fault. He loved fiercely, worked tirelessly, and took on life with so much hope and enthusiasm that his presence brightened all of our lives. Melissa Luciano Ruiz, Alexa, was fatally shot in Tobaja, Puerto Rico on February 24th. According to Metro Puerto Rico, members of her community knew her as humble and noble. Ruiz appeared to have been targeted by her killers after a social media post claimed a homeless transgender woman was using the woman's restroom. Her attackers followed her in a car, filmed the brutal killing, and posted it online. Yampi Mendez Orocho, 19, was killed in Mocha, Puerto Rico on March 5th. Orocho was a transgender man, shared his love for basketball in the NBA. Donnie Miami Heat terror on social media. The biography line on his Facebook reads simply, "Humility prevails." Monica Diamond, 34, a black transgender woman, was killed in Charlotte, North Carolina on March 18th. Diamond was active in Charlotte LGBTQ. It was a nightlife community and was the co-owner of an event promotion company. She was also the co-CEO of the International Mother of the Year pageantry system, a pageant that honors LGBTQ mothers. Lexi, 33, a transgender woman, was killed in Harlem, New York on March 28th, according to reports. Lexi was fatally stabbed in Harlem River Park. I really looked up to her because of her tolerance and respect. So Lavanya Brooks, a friend of Lexi. Lexi had a beautiful heart and she was very gifted. Brooks also noted that Lexi loved poetry, makeup, and fashion.
Johanna Metzger, a transgender woman killed in Baltimore, Maryland on April 11th. According to reports, she was visiting a Baltimore recovery center from Pennsylvania at the time. Johanna was known for her love of music and taught herself to play multiple instruments. Penelope Diaz Ramirez, a transgender woman killed in Puerto Rico on April 13th. Penelope did not deserve to die. Transgender people do not deserve to die. Every single advocate, ally, elected official, and community member must stand up in light of this horrific news and say no more. What we are doing is not enough, said Tori Cooper, HRC Director of Community Engagements for the Transgender Justice Initiative. Serena Angelique Valqueras Ramirez, 32, was killed in Puerto Rico on April 21st. Ramirez was killed alongside Layla. According to reports, Ramirez was visiting the island on vacation and was set to return to her home in Queens, New York at the end of the month. Loved ones are mourning her death and calling her full of life, a happy person, and a sincere friend. On May 1st, 2 men were charged under federal hate crimes for Ramirez's death. Layla Pérez Sanchez, 21, was killed in Puerto Rico on April 21st. Sanchez was killed alongside Serena. Sanchez had recently moved to the island and was living in the Chijay neighborhood in Los Pedros. On May 1st, 2 Puerto Rican men were charged under federal hate crimes for Sanchez's death. Nina Pop, a black transgender woman, was killed in Skilston, Missouri on May 3rd. She was deeply loved by her friends and family and community, according to the Facebook page. On May 15th, in Dexter, Missouri, a 40-year-old man from Polar Bluff, Missouri, was accused of Pope's murder and arrested for second-degree murder and armed criminal action. He pleads not guilty, requested a public defender, and awaits trial. Hel J. O'Regan, 20, a transgender woman killed in San Antonio, Texas. On May 6th, O'Regan was proud of her trans identity on Twitter. She often spoke out against injustices, including the LGBTQ inequality, the prison industry complex, and the need to decriminalize sex work. Damon Terrell Campbell, 42, has been charged with O'Regan's murder.
Jane Thompson, a 33-year-old white transgender woman, was killed in Mesa County, Colorado on May 9th. She was killed by a Colorado State Patrol trooper and misgendered initial news reports. Tony McVeigh, a black transgender man, was killed in Tallahassee, Florida on May 27th. His friends and family shared how he was an energetic, giving person with a big heart. Selena Reyes Hernandez, a 37-year-old transgender woman, was killed in Chicago on May 31st. We have lost a beloved member of our trans family because of hate. Hate that has corrupted our country's soul and that shatters lives and futures every day, said Tori Cooper, HCR Director of Community Engagement and Transgender Justice Initiative. Dominique Ridney Fells, a black transgender woman, was killed in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on June 9th. On personal friend post online, Dom was a unique and beautiful soul, who I'm lucky to have known personally. I'm beside myself right now. We need to fight. We need to do more. We will get justice. Rhea Milton, a 25-year-old black transgender woman, was killed in Liberty Township, Ohio on June 9th in March. She was posted the status, never been scared to struggle, I'm gonna get eventually. A comment highlighting her resilience and optimism as a person facing a transphobic, misogynistic, and racist society. Brian Egypt Powers, a 43-year-old black transgender person, was killed in Akron, Ohio on June 13th. Powers worked at a local catering company and is remembered for wearing long, colorful braids. Unicorn braids, as Powers called them. Brayla Stone, 17-year-old black transgender girl was found killed in Little Rock, Arkansas on June 25th. Rayla Stone was a child just beginning to live her life, a child of trans experience, black girl, a person who had hopes and dreams, plans, and community, said Tori Cooper, HCR Director of Community Engagement. On September 4th, a man was arrested on murder charge and connected to her deaths. Mercy Knapp, a 22-year-old black transgender woman, was killed in Dallas, Texas on June 30th. Her loved ones shared how beautiful of a friend she was. On her social media, she had recently posted that she enjoyed baking, that she was looking forward to returning to work. On July 8th, a man was arrested on a murder charge in connection to her death. Shakee Peters, a 32-year-old black transgender woman, was killed in Amity City, Louisiana on July 1st. In just 4 days, we have seen the deaths of at least three transgender and gender non-conforming people, including Chuck Peters. This horrific spike of violence against our community must be an urgent call to action for every single person in this nation, said Tori Cooper, Director of Community Engagement for HRC's Transgender Justice Initiative. Bree Black, 27-year-old black transgender woman, was killed in Pompano Beach, Florida on July 3rd. These killings are being fueled by the deadly combination of racism, transphobia, and they must cease. We must come together as a community and demand justice for those who were taken from us, said Tori Cooper, Director of Community Engagement for HRC. Summer Taylor, a white non-binary person, was in Seattle, Washington on July 4th. Taylor was participating in the Black Femme March in solidarity with Black Lives Matter and against police brutality. Taylor worked full-time in Urban Animal Veterinary Hospital. Marilyn Cazares was a transgender Latina killed in Brawley, California. Mindy Garcia, an aunt of Perez, said she loved to sing and dance, but never bothered anyone. She was found in an abandoned building on July 13th.
Quinasia D. Hardy, a 22-year-old black transgender woman, was killed in Baton Rouge, Louisiana on July 27th. Hardy, a hairstylist, was extremely loved by her community. Friends and loved ones described her as loyal, loving, always smiling, the life of the party, and truly one of a kind. Asia Will Ron Spears, who sometimes used the name Rocky Ron, a black transgender woman killed in Portland, Oregon on July 28th. According to Facebook, she studied at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and was the owner of and founder of the Intentional Barbie, a Portland-based clothing brand. Key Sam, a black transgender woman who was killed in Lafayette, Louisiana on August 12th. We must all speak up and support a trans and gender nonconforming people and affirm that black trans lives matter, said HRC's Tori Cooper, Director of Community Engagement for the Transgender Justice Initiative. Dahor H. Ova, who sometimes reports as identifying as Tiffany Harris, a black transgender woman who was killed in Bronx, New York. According to her Facebook, Ova loved fashion, listing her career as a personal shopper and posting photos with luxury fashion brands that she loved. On August 13th, a man was arrested on a murder charge in connection to her death. Marion Burnett, a black transgender woman, was killed in Independence, Missouri. On September 19th, her friends and family shared, "If you wanted to have a good day, you need to smile." Ariane was the person you wanted by your side. Mia Green, a 29-year-old black transgender woman who was killed in Philadelphia on September 28th. Her friends and family shared how her smile was so perfect and contagious she made me laugh. Michelle Ramirez Vergras, a transgender woman from Puerto Rico in her mid-30s, was killed in San German up Puerto Rico on September 30th. This level of violence, any level of violence, is unacceptable. We are not doing enough to protect transgender and gender nonconforming people, especially trans women, said HRC's Tori Cooper, Director of Community Engagement for the Transgender Justice Initiative. Belisay Harris, a 33-year-old transgender woman, was killed in Augusta, Georgia, on October 3rd. Belisay was an interior decorator who ran her own company where she enjoyed lending her eye to improve the surrounding of others and made others feel comfortable in their own space. Brooklyn Deshun, a 20-year-old black transgender woman, was killed in Shreveport, Louisiana on October 7th. Brooklyn attended Bossier Parish Community College and studied cosmetology. Sarah Blackwood, a transgender woman, was killed in Indianapolis, Indiana on October 11th, recognized as National Coming Out Day. She enjoyed playing video games and was a fan of the show My Little Pony. Angel Unique, a 25-year-old black transgender woman, was killed in Memphis, Tennessee on October 25th. A licensed cosmetologist, friends, and family of Angel remember her for being very funny, very nice to everybody she met, and such a bright person with a positive spirit. Eunice Carey Hara, a 39-year-old transgender Latina, was killed in Miami, Florida on November 17th, 2020. She was 39 years old. She was killed by her husband.
All right. It's important to remember those who have died and to recommit ourselves every year, and it's terrible that it's every year, but to recommit ourselves that this will not happen again. But we also need to lift up what is positive, what is good, what has happened recently that is good in our world. And so I want to remind you that Danica Roem was reelected to the state legislature of Virginia this year after being initially elected in 2018. Stephanie Byers, an openly trans Native American woman, was elected to the state legislature in Kansas. Sarah McBride of Delaware is the first openly transgender state senator elected in the United States. In Illinois, Jill Rose Quinn was elected a judge in Cook County. And in Oklahoma, Maury Turner is the first non-binary person to serve in the state legislature. They are also the first Muslim elected to the Oklahoma legislature.
Every year we are reminded of just how at risk transgender individuals are, especially transgender individuals of color. Predominantly, they are always the ones at risk of violence and murder. Just in Shreveport alone, we've lost two, Vontasia Bell and Brooklyn Deshun. If you have any information regarding their murders, please contact Crime Stoppers at 318-673-7373 or at www.lockemup.org. That's www.lockemup.org.